So I say put the picture making front and center in your business model as far as possible, because that's the thing you're doing, right? That's your selling point. That's why people are coming to you. If you've made all of the pictures that your client wants and they're happy, you end the session there. Whether that's after 5 minutes or 5 hours, it doesn't really matter. Like I say, most people won't have the stamina to be on camera for more than about 3 hours. It's just hard work, Most people are not going to want to have that big a range of pictures taken on the same day that it's going to go beyond, 3.5 hours, whatever it is. And similarly, some people will really value the fact that you can get everything done inside 30 minutes.
Yeah.
How do you know before they've come in where they're going to place the value? You can't. Exactly. So concentrate on making the pictures. Everything else is secondary.
And the thing is, of course, traditional sort of marketing strategy will always tell you, well, you should have like 3 different options. People will usually go for the middle option. That's the traditional kind of marketing approach.
Yeah.
And there may very well be some, social behavior science that points to that model. Mm-hmm. That being said, though, from a purely practical point of view, I've certainly realized that actually by taking these limitations away, what you're actually doing is you're sort of taking mental limitations away in the client's mind. Because, if I book, a 20-minute session that let's say, call it a 45-minute session that comes with 3 shots, I'm much less inclined to buy any additional shots because I already have that figure, that number 3 in the back of my head. And I'm thinking, if I'm thinking, oh, maybe I should go for a 4th one, my brain will probably say, no, because you already have 3 included in the fee at that point.
Yeah.
And it makes it less likely. And again, purely from a practical point, is I've certainly noticed that although from the outside it may appear like I'm spending more time on each session, actually each session has become much more profitable. So purely from a financial point of view, I've certainly noticed that changing my system has absolutely benefited. The profitability of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to understand why you're doing what you're doing. If you're doing what you're doing in order to be the most effective marketing operation that you can be, to be the most profitable business that you can be, that's fine. Concentrate on those things. But I think most people go into photography because they like making pictures.
Yeah.
So that has to be, I think, your guiding principle. If you are in tune with what makes the process enjoyable for you, what makes the process rewarding for you, maybe not always enjoyable, but rewarding for you, that's where you're going to create your best product. So understand what's the best process for you as a photographer. That's going to lead to the best product for you as a photographer. If you're making your best product as a photographer, you're then more likely to be able to sell that. So I would say, in terms of advice for business models, if it starts with profitability, ignore it.
Yeah.
Process, then product will lead to profit.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how much. I can't say that it's going to be more profitable for you to work in the way that you want to work, but it's definitely going to be more rewarding.
Yeah.
And that to me is far more important. Giving people a ton of options to choose from in terms of, the gold, the silver, the bronze session or whatever, does nothing for me as a photographer.
No, it really doesn't.
So I don't do it.
Yeah. The biggest benefit for me, other than, the positive side effect that it has become more profitable, but the biggest benefit for me personally has been that I don't feel like I'm shooting against the clock.
Mm-hmm.
Because that, to me, that's always been the factor of the most annoyance.
Mm-hmm.
And I've found that if I could take that stress out of my perception, then it immediately makes it a lot more enjoyable to the client as well, because I'm much more relaxed, which basically means then, that is infectious to the client.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of a double whammy in many ways. If I'm explaining it very, very clearly. But what I'm saying is I'm not as stressed because I'm not constantly looking at the clock. The client is not as stressed because, again, they're not looking at the clock, and also, they can ease themselves into the whole process. And also, I find that actually, realistically, within the first, 30 minutes or something, I'm probably not really getting to the good stuff. Like, I'm not really necessarily really getting to the shots where, everybody is on the same level, everybody's tuned in, the client is in the zone and really starting to enjoy the process. And that's where I tend to, for me anyway, that's where I tend to get to the stuff that they'll love afterwards.
Sure. Like I say, I think it is down to each person to understand the process that works best for them. Some people massively enjoy the kind of, I've got 10 minutes and I have to nail it kind of scenario. I do that sometimes in, particularly in sort of corporate work. And it's a different discipline. There are different things about it that's rewarding. But that's not how I want to live my everyday. In your individual studio session, what is it you are selling? If you are selling your time, you pay me by the hour. Yeah, I mean, that just doesn't seem to me to be a great start for creating a business that's going to be something that I'm going to want to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah. It's more of an experience, I think. That's the most important part, because that's what I always. One of the comments I usually hear from clients, especially if they've got experience with other photographers in the past. I always get positive feedback on the actual experience. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed that clip, then press here for the full episode in glorious Technicolor. Hey, and don't forget to subscribe.